Welcome to the Grand Prix Project Podcast.
Welcome once again to the Grand Prix Project Podcast. This is the MotoGP edition with your boy, your host, Andre Miller, and my co-host, Neil, aka
Thanos.
not a MotoGP race in the bag. That's what, our fifth race of the season.
Is it fifth? Yeah.
Yeah,
Another Marc Marquez screw up.
All right. Well, comes with the territory is what the tally say at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Right.
but still.
It says at the end of the year. Let's see how that works out. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but give people too much advantage, too much what you call it now. Let people back into the championship.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The thing is, as he said in the post race, the greatest thing, he's got the speed. He said if he was slow and crashing, then he would be worried. But he said, I got the speed. So.
Yeah, but it's also worrying that you're fast and you're crashing. That's
Right.
probably even worse than being slow than being slow and crashing.
Yeah,
At least if you crash when you're slow, then you can say, you know what, you're pushing the bike to get to a certain point. But if you're fast and you're crashing, that means you shouldn't be crashing.
Hold on, you're going off topic. Let's go through the thing strategically as we planned. Right. So we're gonna start out with Fabio Quatararo. We can start it. I got to give it to the guy. What a lap! That lap is going on Mount Rushmore.
Max, what is it? Equivalent Max at Suzuka this year?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Because
yeah.
no one saw that coming. I mean, yeah, the bike, he looked like he had pace from all the practice sessions, but you always felt like Mark had that extra bit in the tank that if needs be, he can just pull it out at any time and just put it on pole. So to see Fabio kind of like steal it, and you can tell he gave that everything. Because from the body language, his body language, the bike was moving underneath him. And so, I mean,
it was a great lap.
Yeah. Fabio's my guy. So, I mean,
it was a great lap. You can't take it from him. I see some people say, yeah, even though the third one when he didn't get a recruit, but you can't take it away from Fabio. That was a good lap.
That's not Fabio's fault. If Mark didn't get a clean run on his third run,
it's a good lap, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because we already knew that once we get to Europe, where the tracks get tighter and stuff, it's gonna come. The pack is gonna tighten up, right?
But tighten up in what sense? I think if you quick at the flyaway races, when you come back to Europe, you're still gonna be quick.
Not true, because the
Really?
flyaway tracks, they're bigger, they got longer straights, especially Kota. The races. That's why everyone's like, when we get back to Spain, because the tracks are just way smaller. Actually, we're outgrowing these tracks. I'm gonna step on that. Probably not this episode.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, they probably don't have the long straights like Qatar, Kota, and well, obviously the opening rounds. But at the same time, you'd still think, especially looking at the Ducati, it doesn't have a weak track.
Not necessarily a weak track. It's not to say it's a weak track, but the strengths of it doesn't get to display all those strengths when the tracks get tighter, right?
Oh, okay. What's the strengths? What is its strengths? Because
Okay.
obviously we know under acceleration it's absolutely a demon. Because I think yesterday, obviously we get to that. There was a point in the race where Pecco didn't even get up to 8th gear, or is it 7th? Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he got up to 7th.
Which is what I'm saying, because the track they don't have the space to do it, because you know that Ducati keep powering. Once you get to 6, it's just right. So that's one of the things that's gonna bring make it a little bit closer, right? Because the Ducati, the bigger tracks with the longer straights, that's when they really shine because they could use all that power. Them and the KTM's, right?
Mm.
But it was a mega lap. You know, it was a stellar lap from Fabio, lap record as well. So yeah, he put it out there. That lap is Marc Marquez esque when and sometimes when he was on the Honda, it was just a crazy lap. He was biting the screen all the way around. Hey man, kudos to the kid. Kudos to the
That's the
kid.
first. That's the first ever 135 around that track, isn't it?
No, remember when Mark first lap was a 135.
Yeah, but in terms of pole, first 135.
Yeah, but people went on. Mark went underneath it. Fabio went
Yeah,
on.
but I mean, in terms of the lap record, it's the first time the lap record has been on the 135, been on the 136. Now, I know other riders might have gone on the 135, but in terms of lap record, the 135 knows the lap record, so it's the first time anyone.
Yeah, put it this way,
You
it's
know,
hard. This weekend was the first time they went sub. They went
yeah,
what 35,
yeah,
right?
it's all right.
Yeah. So it was a good one. We got to give it to him. And yeah, the Yamaha seems like they've actually made progress. It's seems like they made some progress compared to what we remember earlier on when the season started. We were like, did we were just flattering, but it seems like the bike. Even Fabio said, yeah, they made some progress because I think he said in the press last year he had the arm pump, but he said even without that he finished way off the lead. And this year that's not the case. So they made some
Yeah,
progress. Asked him about the V4, which got tested last week. He said he
yeah,
hasn't
but
tested.
he also said that people shouldn't get carried away because it's still the same bike that started the year, so he's not gonna like get overly excited and think they're pretty much back in the game because they're still nowhere close to the Ducatis
Yeah,
in
but
terms of
yeah,
overall
you're right.
performance.
When you look at the issue from last year where they finished this year, you got to call that progress, right?
Fair enough,
Some
because
form of progress.
I saw the stat that was um oh god, what that was his first pole since when? I can't even remember. That was
2020,
2022 when he won hold on. That was his first pole since he won the title in what year?
90-point deficit that Pecco recovered.
Yeah, that was no, but that wasn't his second title. Wasn't that the first one? Or was
Who's
his,
probably only got one title.
no, wasn't that the one before that when he was on the Petronas
I don't remember
Yamaha?
what riding, but this was when the year when Pecco club at the deficit of 90
Okay,
points.
yeah, and that was Pecker's first title, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Pecco's first.
Pecker's first title. Yeah, okay, cool. So, and that was Pecker's first title was in what 22 because
22,
he won back to back titles.
22,
So it's
23.
22, 23. Martin won last year. So we're in 25. So look at that. First pole in 3 years for the Yamaha. Just shows you how much they've fallen off compared to everybody else. But again, I think Yamaha have the right rider. They just need to get that bike up and running. And because I think once we get to the race, what the race part, we literally can see that Fabio is still one of the quickest riders on the grid. Easily I think if you're gonna rank riders now, even though he's not on one of the best bikes, you're gonna put Fabio in probably a top five. I
Yeah, of course. Top five.
struggle to see how you couldn't put top Fabio. It's Mark, Martin, Alex, Pecco, and Fabio. That's all I see.
I'm
Easily.
surprised. I'm surprised they put Alex in it. I was
But why?
surprised.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't I put Alex in it? Look how he's performing.
Yeah.
He's,
You know when it comes down to Alex, right? You know my
mm,
views on right?
he's.
Alex Marquez.
I
But I'm
mean,
very
if you look at finishing position, he hasn't crashed out of races yet. He's the most consistent.
so you're talking about current grid, like right now, as we
Yeah, current
present.
grid right now.
Yeah,
I
you have to
know. And even if we didn't go current grid, or just overall? Well, obviously we have to go current grid because we're looking at what's happening right now.
It's
So
a what have
Alex
you
is
done lately business.
yeah, but not really because even when Fabio hasn't done anything, people still know Fabio is one of the best riders on the grid. He just doesn't have a bike that can compete with everybody else, and that's what Yamaha needs to get right. I know they tested the V4 in the week, and I think they're developing it alongside because I think they're probably going to run a V4 in 2027 as well when the new engine regs comes into place. So I
Yeah.
think I previously remember I asked the question why they even bother doing the V4 when they're going to have 1 year of it in 26 and then it's gone for 27. I think looking at the plan that they might run it, make the 2027 engine V4 as well, then it kind of makes sense they're doing it with next year's bike.
With a V4.
Hmm?
Yeah, that because they're getting familiar with the V4, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah.
So
Yeah, so let's run through the sprint. So yeah, it was Fabio on pole. He crashed on the second lap.
yeah,
And
man was
he
excited
said,
leading a lap and a half.
he said, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not fighting for a championship. It was just win it or bin it, and said he just went for it. So kudos to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said he never. I think for him, like he said, I've not led a race for so long. Like, it was wow.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens. I'm just glad I led a race, and what I mean. I'm a bit disappointed it crashed because I think had he given up the position, he probably would have finished on the podium.
Mm.
Yeah, because it was a shorter race. He probably would have finished up on the podium. Mark would have still won the race, but it's likely he would have finished on the podium. But I think he crashed because he just went that wide offline and just the front just tucked on him, and that was it. But yeah, the sprint as usual, not really much to write home about, to be honest.
Yeah. I'll come to a theory on the sprint when it comes to the championship. So yeah, the sprint just run off the top 10. It was Marc, Alex, Bagnaia, Morbidelli, Aldiger, Gian Antonio, Vinales, Bezecchi, Joe Amir, Pedro Acosta. That's the top 10. All right.
And the first 6 were all Ducatis. Jesus.
Yeah.
This is getting embarrassing for the sport.
Right. It's for the rest of them to catch up, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have one bike dominating it. Let's be honest, it's not a good look for the sport.
It's a good look because it's not like just a factory team winning. It was worse when Satellite's bike weren't winning in races. Now I have to give it to Ducati and I have to give it to Honda.
Yeah,
and
but let's be honest. Let's be honest. The Ducatis that are winning, pretty much factory bike, aren't they not?
Yeah, they're factory bikes. Just like when Cal Crutchlow was winning on the Honda, it was a factory Honda. When Fabio was winning Petronas, it was a factory bike.
So whilst it might be the winner isn't coming from the factory Ducati, them Red Boys, somewhere still a factory Ducati bike winning either way. So for them, so in that regard, I think it's a bad look for the sport because again, you want variety, but you want variety.
Yeah, so which is because you got to look at it like.
I'm not. You want variety in equipment, not teams.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the rules are out there, and if one
We're
team.
But we're not disputing. About the rules. But at the same time,
how do you fix the problem? If you see there's a problem, how do you fix it?
That I don't know. I don't know how you fix that problem because that the horse has already left the stable. You know what I mean? They can't do anything, and I think that's why. But obviously, their way of fixing that is through the concessions, because remember,
that's common across all motorsports. If you think about it.
Yeah, but it was the same thing when if you go back to Formula One, when Mercedes were dominating the rules, it wasn't a good look for the sport because again, you had one manufacturer just winning everything.
But that's what I'm saying. That's always been the case.
Yes, but
It's
I'm not
thing in
disputing whether
it's
it's
a thing in motorsport. Motorsport, they have never been able to rectify that issue.
well, they did rectify the issue. That's why they came up with the concessions. Because the concessions came about when Ducati came in and the Hondas, the RC211V, were pretty much dominating the sport, right? Then Rossi moved over to the Yamaha. You pretty much had the same thing. Then it switched over again to the Honda. Then when Ducati came in, they realized, well, there's no way Ducati is going to catch up if we don't do something about it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how they came up with the concessions, right? And that concessions in some ways was used to kind of like level the playing field to get the team that are at the back to try and catch up. So again, in this case with Ducati clearly the best bike on the grid, right?
Yeah,
So the only way you can somewhat try and level the playing field again is through the concessions.
which they have.
Yeah. But at the same time, it still doesn't mean it's not a bad look for the sport.
But what I'm saying to
You
you,
can't, bro, come on, let's be real. You
right?
have one manufacturer dominating the top six positions in the
I'm not saying
finishing.
you're wrong. What I'm saying to you is that if you check even with concessions, it's either it swings one way left or it swing one. It's never a balance.
Well, it
It
did
that
balance out. It did somewhat balance out because when the Ducati started to come good, they kind of like they caught up with the Yamahas. They caught up with the Honda, and then we saw a bit more even keel through the manufacturer. So the positions when and even the same thing happened with KTM because KTM came into the mix as well. So you had a mixture of manufacturers in finishing positions. Now, what you're looking at, you watch the race weekend, you pretty much think to yourself, if those boys on um the customer teams, Ducatis, don't crash, it's very likely they're going to finish in the same position, dominating the top half of the finishing positions. So
yeah.
so you see what I mean? So it in some ways, again, it's but
I,
again
don't-
we understand the
I see where you're coming
dynamics.
from. I see where you're coming from, but for me, yeah, I'm happy when this one of the smartest things that MotoGP did and the teams did is when they decided to start giving satellite teams actual full factory spec bikes, right? Because when it would really be terrible is if they were still getting hand-me-downs, not getting updates, and then the factory team is just running away every single
But
weekend.
but hold on a
And
second. MotoGP has no control over that.
over what?
MotoGP can't dictate to a manufacturer that you have to give a customer team a factory bike. That's
I'm
not
saying,
MotoGP. Huh?
I'm saying that's why I said MotoGP and the teams,
Yeah,
right?
but this had nothing to do with MotoGP. Because again, that's not even true because when you go back to case in point, the RC211V when it first came out, um, Alex Barros on the West
Big bro,
Honda.
you're the ancient. I'm talking about now. We're not
No,
talking about.
no, but what this is, it goes back to what I'm trying to explain to you. You go hold on, you go back to the Alex Barros on the West Honda was the same factory bike that Rossi had. You look at the factory Yamaha that what was it Max Biaggi? I can't remember who his teammate was. It was the same factory bike that I think Marco Melandri on the Fortuna. I can't remember because it's way back. So again, teams were getting factory bikes back then.
They weren't getting what these guys are getting now.
But that's again,
That's not. No, I guess we're arguing too. I'm saying now, the best thing that they did was when Cal Crutchlow ended up with a full spec factory Honda, right? So
yeah.
he could win,
But why
right?
did he? But why did he end up with a full spec factory Honda? Because that's the deal that Lucio
That's
Cecchinello negotiated. It had nothing to do with MotoGP.
one time satellite bikes. It would be difficult for them to win a race. It was the full-on factory bikes. So what I'm saying to you that where they at now is better than back
because because what happened was they realized again they stopped doing it because they realized that the guys on satellite bikes, the same factory satellite bikes, were beating factory riders.
So
So
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
so that's
Why?
why. So hold on. So what I'm trying to say to you is again, this is not a new concept where satellite teams are getting full factory bike. This was already being done, but then it stopped because they realized that what I mean, these guys on you had good riders on satellite teams, and they were beating the factory again. Go way back. This is showing you how long we've been watching this. Alex Barros, Caparossi on the factory RC211V. Granted, yes, Rossi dominated those championships, but again, they still had somewhat the same bike. So, and that stopped. It's only recently now, again, Cecchinello negotiated with Honda for him. That's why Kyle got a full factory bike.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not all the Cal. It's a common thing now. What I'm saying to you
Yes,
now, common.
it's common now because it's common. And let's be real here. Let's be honest here. Not every satellite Ducati was a full factory bike. They weren't getting the same upgrades that the factory teams were getting. They'd get that the year after, not in the same year. You pointed it out. Marc Marquez last year on that Gresini Ducati was pretty much a stock. Was it a 22 model or a 23 model he was on?
The one that won the championship for
Which one?
It wasn't the one that won the championship. It
So it wasn't.
like for the year one. He didn't.
So
get
it
the
wasn't
social-
one. So it wasn't one of Pecco Bike. It wasn't Pecco Bike that won the 22 or the 23 championship. He had.
What I'm looking at is, say for instance, a Martin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, Martin ain't winning a championship. Ducati is plugging that. So what
Exactly.
I'm saying now it's better. So even though Ducati is still dominating, now the fact that Ducati will say, hey man, we'll give him the updates. We'll make it a straight, fair fight. I respect that, despite they're still dominating.
I still disagree with that because again, how many riders outside of the factory team has a full spec factory current same year factory bike? There's only 3 current spec bikes, this year spec bikes. The Red Boys and Digi as the
Digi got the
third. So
third.
everybody else has older bikes. So again, when you say you commend them for giving, they're not giving. I'd understand if they were giving them the same year, but if they're giving them 2025 bikes, and as the updates comes out, and they give it to the boys in red, they also give it to the VR46 and Gresini. There's only six Ducatis. So I'd understand if all of them got the exact
But
same
I think-
specification, but they
I think
don't.
Gresini is the third tier team.
Is that what?
Is this so? VR46 is the official second team. So VR46 is what Pramac used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So Gresini is still second in line after VR46.
So Ducati is not really giving them the current spec bike. They're giving them the previous year's bike and whatever upgrades that came with that bike last year is what they get.
Yeah, but you still,
because Alex is on a GP24.
yeah, but you still got it. What I'm looking at is the fact that Alex could basically compete, even though it's because I'll get to the Alex situation. Alex is competing on a GP24, right? And I guess my whole thing is that even though Ducati is covering the 6th position, and that was just in the sprint, right? I'm happy that it's not just the 2 factory teams running away with it week in, week out. The fact that even if it's another Ducati could come in the mix, I respect it. Fabio came in the mix, and Vinales is in the mix. So I think it's in a healthy space. It's just for the rest to catch up and then see how we go from here. Because that's what I'm saying. You're saying that there's an issue, and they've got the concessions. So what are we?
Yeah, but the problem with the concession is it takes a long time for that concession to pay off. How long did it take? Because remember, Ducati only started to get the concession after Stoney won the championship.
And let me ask you this: when and after that, which and that was when 2001,
I don't
seven,
remember
don't
now.
won the championship
2000.
2007, 2007,
Mm-hmm.
don't won the championship,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And when did Ducati start even competing again for even race wins
During the Marquez run, which
with
was
Dovey?
which was what?
So I think Dovey's first race win was, well, they competed. What would you say compete for a championship? I think it was 2017 was when Dovey.
Okay, so that's what, 6 years.
No, that's 10 years from 2007 to 2017.
Okay, so 10. Okay, so you're saying, so you see what I mean. So you see how long it took the concessions to actually start work for Ducati.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, what are we arguing, right? Because ultimately, it's concession alone that could fix it.
Yeah.
Look, it took Ducati 10 years.
Exactly.
So it's like if it took Ducati 10 years to catch up, right? Obviously, I see where you're saying there's an issue, but let Ducati reap their benefits, man. The guys did.
I'm not arguing. Look, I'm not arguing against saying Ducati shouldn't reap the benefits of their hard work. Damn right, they deserve to enjoy their success. What I'm saying is, at the same time, you can understand, you can look at it and see where it doesn't look good for the sport. There's nothing wrong with saying that. The two things can be true.
The thing is, right? I'm gonna get to this because I don't think it's just a Ducati thing. I think some of it has to come down with certain riders that are on certain machine. Even though Ducati is dominant, I think. Hold on, I'm gonna get to that. Right? I think there's motorcycles on the grid where even if a Ducati doesn't crash, I think with a certain rider on it, they could mix it in for the podium based on the
which bike?
So if you're looking at where, because I was gonna say on this thing where it's like, does Honda need to find their Fabio?
Well, that's to be seen because it's only recently the Honda start looking like a decent bike. Was it Argentina?
Yeah,
was the first real sign showing of the Honda looking like it's on the way back up. Argentina with Zarco.
So you could call it the start of the season, right? You could just call it.
How so?
This is the second race. Let's call it the start of the season. Thailand, probably ironing out stuff, right? So
no, we can't do that because again, Honda's had concessions for more years than more than Yamaha. There's concessions been going back since even when I believe when Marc was there. So
no, and that's what I'm saying to you. The Honda has been a good bike since the beginning of the season. Yes, it's been a decent.
Okay.
So my question is, this kind of pushed me away from where I was going to go. But maybe Honda needs to find their Fabio, because the riders that are on the Honda, barring Zarco, Luca Marini's a steady pair of hands. He's just bringing in the points. Jerome Mir, he's just having a nightmare, right? Mm-hmm. And Zarco is just biting the screen and putting it where you're right. So I'm thinking, well, does Honda needs to find, which is why this whole Pedro Acosta thing. But as I said, that's a whole different thing because I got to loop in Pedro as well, and I'm not ready to go to Pedro just yet. Because I'm not impressed right now.
With who? Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. So I'm gonna come back to him.
But anyway, let's get on to the race because we dragged this Ducati thing over for too long.
So so in the main race, obviously Fabio started from pole. Led nice little ding dong between Marc and Pecco. that was a bit of fun.
Look, I tell you,
that was a bit of fun.
Last year, people said Pecco doesn't have that dog in him, where he's not. Because one of the black marks against Pecco was that if you rough him up, he withdraws in his shell, and you can have an easy race. And last year, this very same race, he did this to Marc. And I said to people, there's been a change in Pecco when it comes to that attitude. And he did it again. He roughed him up again this weekend. He didn't let him. And I think that's what caused the mistake. That's why Marc crashed. Because he realized that he had to get past Pecco quickly as possible. He needed to get past Pecco as quickly as, because if he had spent too long behind Pecco, the likelihood of him winning would still be there, but it would probably be a bit more harder for him because, again, given how hard it is to overtake at this track.
You know, the thing is, this weekend for some reason, right? I felt Alex, even though if Mark didn't crash, I think he would have won. For some reason, when I saw Alex, I'm just like, why does it feel like Alex is just on a whole different mood this weekend? Even though he was crashing, because even when he went out, he was just finding time. I'm like, yo, this dude is on one this weekend, even after the big crashes.
What is it? Right? Crashed twice, didn't he?
Yeah, but the thing is, he wasn't, when he was crashing, it's not like he was struggling to find time. He came off the bike. Remember, when he took long to came out after the big one, he came out one lap. I'm like, wow, he's got the time in the bike. So despite Mark crashing out, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised Alex won. It's like when he said in the press, he said when he saw that Mark crash, he was like, well, today's your day. Don't mess up like Kota. And that's what's one of the question mark for me. Given
his biggest gap of Fabio got up to like 2.5 seconds. I don't think he would have had the pace to beat Mark. Even with that.
I'm not saying, but I'm like, no, what I was looking at, I'm like, he was in a good place. Even with the crashes, I just felt like
he was in a good place. But I think I still think had Mark not crashed, I don't think Alex.
You know what I'm saying? Unlike Kota, where when Mark crashed, he didn't have the pace. This weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
it's
he was. Did he pass? Was he ahead of Pecco when Mark crashed?
No, he was fourth when Mark crashed.
There you go.
He was fourth. So I'm happy for him, his first win, right? This is not the way I wanted to go into his first win. But
it's a win.
The thing is, he learned. No, I'm saying this is not how I wanted to go into the topic. He learned the thing that I'm finding. You could even hear it in commentary, whereas like Alex, he's learning a lot now. I think he said when he led in was it Thailand he led when Mark led him through for the tire pressure? Yes, Thailand the first. He said he learned a lot leading that race. He said in Argentina, he learned a lot leading that race. In Kota, what it seems like in Kota, he was like, you know what? I'm going to just play it safe. Did what it was supposed to do. So it's like now, it was just this win, it was just a build-up because the fact that he said, hey, when he saw Mark crash, he was like, yo, today's my day. So the thing is, right, a lot of times you just need a rider to get that first win or to get that confidence, couple podiums on the trot, challenge at the front, because it's 5 races in going into 6, right? And there's a lot of guys and like other podcasts that I listen to who is still unconvinced. I'm like, how can you be unconvinced when I met one particular person in Kota and he was like, it's just a bike, it's a 24 bike, it's dialed in, wait till we get to Europe. First it was wait till we get to Qatar. That didn't show through. Or wait till we get to Europe. Now we're in Europe, he won. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, is either y'all really trying to diminish this guy's talent or something? You cannot tell me now that the guy's not for real.
I mean, Neil Hodgson even said that in commentary that he's surprised that people are still questioning Alex, who's a 2-time world champion. He's won 12 races, granted, that's over Moto 3 and Moto 2, and then the sprint race he won, was it last year, right? How can you question someone who's a 2-time world champion? Like, come on, be real. You know, it's not like he's one of those. Again, we know he had a difficult time on the
LCR?
Yeah, the Honda, because we pretty much know the Honda was terrible. Nobody could ride that shit. That was just
the thing is, you got to remember, he also challenged for podiums and a race win when he was on the Repsol.
Exactly. So again, look, the people who are having a go questioning Alex's credibility and why he's in the sport, I don't really pay them people no mind or take them seriously because, again, it's not like, yes, he's Mark's little brother, but he paved his own way to MotoGP. He got to MotoGP on merit.
Let me
He
ask
did.
this.
No, hold on. He got to MotoGP on merit. He didn't get to MotoGP because he's Mark's brother. He got to MotoGP because he won the two championships.
Let me ask you this. Despite, because their excuse was it took him a while to win the Moto2 championship. Like,
Still won it.
ultimately, apart from Marc Marquez since 2000 and okay, I think say Mark won is 125 in 2010. Then he won Moto2 2012.
12.
So since Mark, there's only two riders to win Moto, the lower class and the intermediate, right?
Yeah, I think that's Alex and Pedro. Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like y'all are crazy. This is the older man since his brother, right? To win Moto3. Well, Mark did 125, but that's why I said the smaller category. The and Alex and then Pedro, right?
Put it this way. This is what they want to do to Alex. They want to Ralph Schumacher Alex. That's what they're trying to do. Ralph Schumacher, yeah, he might probably had a little bit of speed, but let's be honest, the Schumacher name somewhat got him to Formula One. But Alex got to MotoGP on merit and stayed in MotoGP on merit. So when I hear people bring up like Alex this, Alex that, I'm like, yo, come on, dude, let's be real. Look at the guy's record.
When you look at what I compare Alex's MotoGP situation to is like George Russell in F1, right? When George Russell got Mercedes, which was a good car, because as I say, he's been driven a bad car for so long, right? Now he's in a Mercedes, he's doing the business. Alex is now in a Ducati that's refined. Now the guy is showing his talent. Maybe he's not the rider, because the thing is, as you said, people are expecting Alex to do what a rider like Mark. Bro, there's very few riders on the MotoGP grid who could ride around problems of their bike.
Look, hear me out. Again, because like I said, I don't put much notice to these people because, again, if you're a good rider, we know your machinery is vital to your performance. Mark was on that dog of a Honda for how many years? It nearly killed him. Does that mean Mark was a bad rider? No, it just means his machinery was crap. Fabio is on a turbo Yamaha. Hold on. Fabio is on a turbo Yamaha. We're saying Fabio is a bad. So if Fabio jumped from the Yamaha to one of those Ducatis and start performing, are you going to say it's because of the bike? And not the fact that Fabio was actually a good rider. So now he's on a better machinery. You're actually seeing that. That's literally what we're seeing with Alex. You put him on a good bike, he's going to perform because he knows how to perform. You don't win 2 championships by not knowing how to ride a bike.
And the difference as well is, whereas like we'd say with a Fabio and a Mark, he's putting the Yamaha where technically it shouldn't be. Mark was putting on the technical where it shouldn't be, I guess. And these are the things that I'm like, okay, Alex may not be that type of rider, but give him a good motorcycle and you get the result that you're getting now.
Exactly.
Which is like 90% of the riders on the grid.
Exactly. Again,
what's going on? Ask yourself this. Think about a lot of riders who they rate highly over even Alex. You're talking about the Bezek, the Alex Rins of this world.
Really?
Right? And
hold on.
Yeah.
People actually put Rins and Bezecchi ahead of Alex.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's at that point I stop having conversation. I don't have conversation with people because that's just nonsense. Right. I don't know. For me, at that point, I start just tune them out because I stop conversing because I'm like, what we doing here? What are we doing?
Right. And those things, but at that point I realized that, okay, people are it's probably who they like, but when I look at them, like, there's no way. Like, you think Rins is better than Alex Marquez at no time of the week, right? So they're going to say Rins won on a Honda? Yeah, like, but man, Alex, because I don't want to go too far left. So his first win, it's, as I say, it's the monkey off his back. Let's see if it unlocks more wins this season. And to your point, right?
It's going to be hard though.
Let's segue into this. We just did the numbers. Mark dropped what we said, 46 points so far this season.
Is it 46? Because because when Alex finished. Hold on, Alex finished quarter what, second? So that's 20. So he dropped 45 to Alex because Alex. No, it's not 45.
right? Okay, so if you're doing that math, I was just looking at overall 2 race wins is what he in 50 points, right? Are actually yesterday 4 points of 46. That's what I'm looking at over the total amount of points that he dropped, just not comparing it to anyone. The thing that's alarming for me is that even with Marc dropping that much points, you realize that Pecco still hasn't led the championship at no point.
Yeah, well, Pecco was never going to lead the championship with that happening because again, how many races has he finished ahead of Alex?
No, I'm looking at it like when let me backtrack. So when coming into the season, right, you'd have thought, okay, Factory Ducati, Alex Marc and Pecco. If Marc falters, when you considered who you thought would have been the guy to pick up the pieces,
you
right?
think it would be
Pecco.
Yeah.
Right? And we're 5 races in. Marc binned it twice. And he's still not even leading the he still hasn't led even Marc once in the championship.
I don't think he's even been second in the championship.
Right. So for me, it's like you said it the last episode. Pecco needs to find a way around Alex before even thinking about Marc.
Exactly. and again, going back to what I said, because hold on, let me look at this result. The only time Pecco has only finished in front of Alex.
Quota.
No, Quota and Qatar. Alex has finished ahead of him 3 times. And if you count the sprint, probably more. So there was no.
I think Alex had hook it in the back of DJ and Antonio in Qatar, he would have finished ahead of Pecco.
Exactly. So yeah,
right?
But what was the question again?
You said it because when the season just started, I remember we had these conversations, and even you initially was, which was right. I couldn't be mad at you. It was like, yeah, I think by the time Pecco is going to figure it out by XY, Alex is for the is temporary. And from our conversations recently, it seems like you've changed on that in terms of Alex.
Yeah, because I looked at the performance, and again, it goes back to the conversation we had, and I said to you, Pecco can't be concentrating on Marc right now because he can't even beat Alex. And again, that's because of how Alex has performed so far this season. He's out-qualified Pecco more than Pecco's out-qualified him. He's finished races ahead of him more often than Pecco's finished ahead of him. So that whole Pecco thing now is being reshaped, and I think I said it early in this broadcast recording that I think Pecco is already broken. I think he's resided himself knowing that he's not going to win this championship. So I think for him, his fight now is to get ahead of Alex in the championship, and it's not going to be easy. Because the way Alex passed him on Sunday, you're thinking, dude, you're on the current spec Ducati. That shouldn't have happened. He just, like he wasn't there and just rode away from him. So I'm looking at that like, unless this test that they had today brings some solution for Pecco, it's very likely he could finish 3rd in the championship.
I'm looking at the test. Funny enough, I'm looking at the test results now.
He finished 17th. Pecco.
19th.
No, I thought no.
He finished 19th overall.
Okay. Oh, that 2 sessions?
Yeah, just there. That's some kid. The only riders behind Pecco in the test, right, is...
Are you sure? Because I'm looking at this. There was a tweet they put out, MotoGP put out. The session 2. Okay, session 2, he finished 17th.
Right? See, where is he at? So this is session Yeah, session 2 is finished 17th, and the first session he finished 19th, right?
Mhm.
And even though it's a test, right, his teammates still top both of them. Let me see if I'm correct.
Okay. Yeah.
His teammates still top both of them, right? Alex is still ahead of him in the test in both sessions, right? So, as I said, we never know what's going on in the test, but even try and capture a headline, bro. If it's even try and capture a headline,
Yeah, but again, I don't think that would really do anything for him because again, people are pretty much gonna know, yeah, it's tested. No one's taking that seriously. You're still not quicker than. And again, the only way he would have captured the headline if he had done a 135.
so let me ask you this: so psychologically, right?
He's
Do
broken.
you think the fact that you think it's even though it's a test, the fact that his teammate top both test sessions, do you think psychologically he's looking to like, wow, not even in test, I'm not getting a sniff.
I don't think that really matters because he's been broken even before the test today. So this doesn't really do anything for him from that standpoint. You look at Pecco, you can tell. We know Pecco is not a very demonstrative person, right? He tends to be very quiet and demeaning or whatever it is, right? But at the same time, you can tell when someone's broken. He's broken. Marc has broken him in 5 races. Marc results are P1, 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 crash, P1, P1, crash, whatever, P, whatever. He's literally, bro, the only time Pecco has finished ahead of Marc this season is when Marc crashed.
And because I saw that someone said that they felt that we were biased on the pod. And Georgia, it's not biased. We're just looking at what we're seeing, right? A lot of it's just our opinion.
But what?
Right?
But what's biased about saying it? Marc is absolutely demolishing him. How we can't keep saying again? We had a conversation about the tank they use for the sprint as opposed to the main race, right? And the struggle he's having with that. I saw Matt Oakley, I think his name, Matt Oxley tweeted something Saturday after the sprint again about mentioned the tank again, and like you said, at some point it's gonna be a case of, is this psychological? Because again, why you keep it? This is what the third year of sprint races, or second?
It's third.
Third year sprint races. Come on, that should have been resolved ages ago. And again, okay, you have that problem in the sprint races with the tank. Cool, you get back your more favorable tank for the main races, and you're still nowhere. So what is it?
He's got work to do. He's got a lot of work to do, actually.
Go back.
Right.
Go back again. Tadazzi after, was it Kota? Remember they asked him what changed in Kota, etc. And Tadazzi was like, we don't know because it's still the same bike.
It's in his head, is what he said.
It's in his head. Basically, it's in his head. So Pecco is literally broken. And and for me, I feel bad because I wanted to see him put up a fight against Marc. But when you look at it in the grand, again, I tweeted this on Saturday. No, on Friday, I believe it was, for practice. Another big problem Pecco has is he has to build into a weekend, right?
Yeah.
Marc comes out from the first green flag practice session and he wants to top every single session. Marc is not there thinking, okay, let me slowly build into a weekend. Marc starts at 100.
And that showed, you know what showed that? When before Fabio got pole, when Marc went out on the soft, I know it straight to lap record. I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
Exactly. And for Pecco, and in Pecco's case, he has to build into a weekend. And against Marc Marquez, you can't do that. You can't look, put it this way. My riders has always been Rossi and Fabio. But at the same time, I'm not hypocritical and gonna deny who Marc Marquez is. It's just the same way I'm not going to deny who Max Verstappen is, whether I like them or not. Talent is talent. You can't dispute that. And the level of talent that Marc Marquez has, it's not something that if you're going up against him, you can give him more rope to hang you with. No. Mark only needs an inch of... Look, put this here. Mark only needs an inch of rope to hang you. And you're going to give him a full 100 yards worth of rope? Come on. That's literally what Pecco is doing. Pecco goes into these weekends and he has to build himself. It's never a case where he comes out the box and he's quick from the get-go. He has to go through his struggles on Friday, then go over the data on Friday night, and then make changes for Saturday, and then you see him come to the fore. The time he's doing that, Marc Marquez is already thinking, okay, the bike is pretty much perfect here. Let's see how much more I can improve. So by the time Pecco gets to perfect, Marc is already at super perfection. So Marc has already moved the goalposts.
And he had that luxury with Martin, which he doesn't have with Marc.
Exactly. And that's why I said he's broken. That's why I think he's broken. Because, yeah, go on.
Martin used to say a lot of time Pecco used to use his data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy thing about now is that if you go back to Cal, I don't want to go because we think we mentioned this in previous episodes, but just to bring it back for the people that didn't listen to those ones. Cal already told you could look at what Marc is doing, but good luck. Mm-hmm. Right? Because the crazy thing is they know he's fast in left-handers. Pecco knows now. Did you see the after race when they, those little clips that they show on MotoGP Twitter feed where they show in the back of the car?
Yeah.
Pecco said, his own words were, I tried to do what you did in, I think it's turn 8, and that's when he crashed on Saturday. He said, I looked at your data, and I tried it, and that's when I go, he crashed. So Cal already told us that you could look at Marc's data, but you might as well just take it out. He said, whenever you look at, just take it out, put it, delete it. It's useless to any other rider, right? Mm-hmm. But let's see, man, because as I said, so let me ask you this. Do you see Alex Marquez for the long haul?
What?
If he gets updates, if Ducati, because as I say, they're the third tier team, they're behind VR46. I'm not sure of what contract they have in terms of Alex's bike. If he's getting updates, do you think you see him performing this way to the end of the season?
Again, he's on a 24 bike, so whatever. I don't think there's going to be any new updates on that bike. So the bike is going to be the bike.
No, you unless updates. Got updates last year.
Who?
23, Marc.
Yeah, he got the upgrade updates that were for the 23 bike. But I don't see Ducati running to development program for the 24 and the GP25. So it's likely whatever upgrade he gets is probably stuff that they already had in the pipe.
Yeah, in terms of I don't think Alex is on the mark that Martin won the championship with. Right. So
really, you sure about that? Nah, man. I think that's the championship winning bike he's on, man. It has to be. I disagree. I think that's definitely the championship winning bike he's on. There's no way a spec. Nah, I don't agree with that. There's no way the spec GP24 is doing what it is.
It doesn't necessarily have to be spec. It could be like a mid-year bike, right? It could be like something that they run like.
Nah, I feel like
I don't think it's. But I'll search.
We'll check. But I'm gonna disagree and say I think that's the final version GP24 that Martin and Pecco had. It's either the one that Martin had or the one that Pecco. Well, probably both are the same bike anyway. So
let's.
But
yeah, I'm gonna.
If the bike stays consistent, he's definitely finishing the top 3 in the championships. That's a given. Whether it's gonna be second or third, that's the question.
And the thing is, right? I know, because I'm just giving Alex his flowers, right? We know we're going on with it, but this is the thing with Alex. This is the thing I'm looking at. Despite the bike, you also have to look at, he's riding good. He's riding nice,
Yeah, because
right?
again, it goes back to what we said all along. The talent was never the question with Alex. The issue was he didn't have the right equipment. He has that equipment now. The GP, which is why I say this, what he's on, is the bike that actually won the championship last year. And that was a damn good bike. And this is
And,
why he's now performing, because he's on a much better machinery and he can ride it without overriding.
and the thing is, remember that we always talk about, you and I talk about this mostly in F1, that extra tent that break the driver's back, right?
Mm-hmm. And
the fact
that's why he doesn't have over Mark.
right? Yeah, and even with that, he's just looking at in terms of like the fact that he's on this bike now, the performance that it gives, it just shows that he has the talent to match the performance that he's getting from it. Some riders, some riders probably would have been crashing because that extra just they're in a different space where they're not used to. Is like, okay, I've just been waiting for this day to get a machine that I could actually. And I'm just happy that the guy's doing it. I'm happy that he won a race. Whether it's brother, I'm not even going. He's a MotoGP.
Talent wasn't Alex's problem. Talent was not his problem. His problem was he didn't have a good machinery to display that display that I have what it takes. I have the talent to run with these guys. I didn't win 2 championships for no reason. So,
Yep. All right, and so that's Alex. Let's move on. Let's move on from Alex, right? We kind of barely touched on Luca Marina. He's bringing in Luca Marina. He's steadily doing his thing for Honda.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I mean, the Honda is definitely looking much better than my preseason prediction. My preseason prediction was all over the place. That's just madness. None of that's coming.
I think from what I mean, I think in the briefs I heard that Joe Amir, all of them are saying that the Honda is actually a sweet handling bike. Like it's way better than anything that they had before, right? They're like in the top speed area, and which is why I asked the question. They probably need their Fabio, right?
Yeah, but if it's lacking in the top speed area, that's the same issue that Fabio is having on the Yamaha. It doesn't have any top speed. So what are we saying? What Honda did was they sacrificed top end speed for handling.
No, I think it's the same engine they got, or probably just having, because you have to remember it's a balance, right? And they have to.
Yeah, so they probably sacrifice some of that engine performance to get the handling characteristics that they want.
But even though Fabio said that, Fabio also said like it's a different thing when I'm in fresh air, when I could do my lines that I want to do. So even though they got the top speed issue, he also said, well, if I could make my lines if there's no one disrupted, which has always been a Yamaha thing anyway. So it's not like that's
so the Yamaha was always, because there was a point in the race coming into the last corner where if you look at Quatararo, when he came around, he ran almost the edge of the track. So he carried more speed in a more sweeping line, right? A more curved line, whereby the Ducati came and it kind of like formed a V. And just because it wanted to get on the more grippy, the fatter part of the tire, so it can just drop that power and launch out, because that's how it makes its performance. So again,
because Fabio that curve, right? Because to keep the speed, look at you, point and shoot it.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. Why I think it's possible Honda, because the Honda engine was one of the up there with the Ducati is one of the most powerful at one point. So it's very likely that because you're gonna have to do something like that. You're gonna have to give up some your power to get the handling characteristics that you want.
And then probably later on they could probably gradually dial it back up
you can the more you develop it, the more I assume, again, I'm no engineer, but I assume the more you develop it is the more you kind of like you add, the more you develop the bike, the more you kind of like increase the power back. But I could be wrong. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying it's just.
All right, and so we look at Honda briefly. Joe and Mir, I don't.
Dude,
he's crashed He crashed 11 times out of 13 GPs.
Dude, I told you, he's out. He's gonna be out of MotoGP at the end of this year. He's gone. He's gone. He's literally gone. And again, this is where, and I think this is where, because one of the rumors, I was listening to the post race yesterday. I was at the post or pre-race, and we're talking about Toprak coming into MotoGP. Because Mir is on the factory. He's a factory HRC rider. And one of the theories they came up with is Toprak could move to Honda in World Superbike next year, and then move from Honda. I think that's what they said. Then move from the World Superbike to the MotoGP team, or I think that's what they said. I can't remember. Or they said it's likely he could move from the BMW MotoGP Superbike straight into the factory Honda next year, and then
there's a few theories.
And then he'll have at least a year under his belt, and then when they go over to the Pirelli tires, he has that experience of using the Pirelli tires. But I think that's a flawed concept, because again, the Pirelli tires is not the same. Pirelli tires used in World Superbike won't be the same as what they use in MotoGP.
All right, and so to piggyback off the theories, there's one that he might come to MotoGP and do a year and then go into regulations, or he could go MotoGP, could go Honda Superbikes, then come to MotoGP.
I
think what everyone is hanging on is so everyone is trying to hang on to the fact that he's using Pirelli tires. The difference, right, is that I think the Pirelli tires that they use on Superbikes are actually Pirelli tires that you could go to a shop and purchase.
No.
Yes, it's a street. Trust me, you could purchase them and go do a track day on them. You could purchase them.
No.
Yes, they're not prototype tires. Trust me, there's tires that you could go to a shop and purchase them, and a track day tire.
We're gonna have to
trust me.
Check
trust
that
me.
out, because
Trust
that sounds
Trust
a bit.
me.
Because then, if that was the case, riders could just buy the normal road bike, get the normal Ducati road bike again, and just go test these tires, and they get data from it.
Nah, there's legalities to it. But trust me, it's a tire. The Superbike tire is a tire that you could actually purchase and go to a track day with them, right? And that's the difference with the MotoGP. The MotoGP tires are prototype tires, right? The next thing that they don't know what rim diameter they're gonna run for MotoGP with the new Pirellis, right? So I get the argument that because Toprak is on, I guess because you're saying the DNA of the tire, the base of the tires, the DNA doesn't change. I don't know, but I cannot see those arguments. I cannot see really working when you're dealing with prototypes, because the tire it's the most important thing, right?
Oh, you actually,
but I just checked.
I just checked. You're actually correct. Because they use the Pirelli Diablo slick range. Actually, you can get them the SC1, SC3. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, you could get it. It's a road. Yeah, you could go purchase the Superbike tires and go track days and all that stuff with them, right?
Okay.
And with MotoGP, it's just prototype. It's not something you could go to the shop and purchase.
Yeah. Just like Formula One, they just build specifically.
Yeah, we don't know what rim size. There's a lot. So I like the top idea.
I think
for me is that
I don't think it's the diameter of the rim. The diameters of the rims will be the same. I think what they're looking at is the width of the tires.
No, they're actually looking to, if they're not sure if they're going to go 17 inch or 16 and a half, something crazy like that.
So they're going to reduce the rims.
Yeah. So right. So this is what I'm saying. There's a lot that goes into, even though it's going to be a Pirelli tire, there's a lot that goes into how if it's gonna work for Top Rock, other than just it being he's used to Pirellis, because we all know prototype is way different, right? Our electronics and all that stuff, how the bike exits the corners, how it performs on a brake. There's a lot. So this whole Top Rack thing, I like the idea of it.
Look,
but you still got to remember, this is a guy that tested the Yamaha and wasn't impressed in MotoGP.
Here's the thing. This hype around Top Rack is kind of like, I don't know where it's coming from, because again, being good in World Superbike don't mean you're going to be good in MotoGP. We saw what happened to the likes of Colin Edwards moved over to MotoGP. He wasn't all that great. And he was on he was Ross's teammate on the Camel Yamaha, right? I mean, he had one chance to win a race. It was Assen. I can't remember what year it was. I think he crashed out on the last lap, last corner, and then that was his one chance to win a race. We saw the likes of Carlos Checa. Again, moving from MotoGP, where the bikes are pretty much somewhat standard road bikes with a few modifications here and there, it's completely different to moving up to prototype. You're going from a superbike that probably has 200 bhp to a MotoGP bike that has 300. I think they have about 300.
I'm not even going to go into numbers. Top Rack tested for Yamaha and they wasn't impressed.
There you go.
Right. And granted, I heard that there probably certain thing wasn't prepared right. I guess he had issues with his seating, all this other stuff. But ultimately, tested a MotoGP bike and they weren't impressed. So let's see how that progresses, right? So this is the one that I want to come to, man. Let's talk about Pedro Acosta, because he went back to the 2024 machine this weekend.
Yeah.
And he's still the same place, right? And I want to tie in Pedro Acosta with, so now there's rumors that he might be going to Honda as well, right? And hey man, Honda, granted it's changed from what I'm hearing now. You're saying it's sweeter to handle. I don't know, because
the problem with Acosta is, and I had this conversation with you before, he crashes too much, and if he keeps on crashing, he's going to crash his way out of MotoGP. It's as simple as that. If he can stay on the bike, he has the talent to go all the way to the top.
But no one isn't even talking about his crashing right now, because it's just a matter of, so he was a rookie last year. Cool, he get all the passes in the world. He finished this race. But there's something where it's like, even if he goes to Honda, do I think he's gonna make a difference? Probably, because is he better than Joe Amir and Luca Marini? Yeah,
I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely better than them. But again, like you say,
no, I know that. I just, when you hear me like I'm thinking, it's just because Joe Amir got a championship, right? And it's just like I still got to process stuff. So yeah, he is. Where would he put that Honda? We don't know. Can he stay on it? We don't know.
Well, he definitely do better than what's that guy's name?
Luca Marini?
No, the one that crashes every minute.
Oh, Joe Amir?
He definitely do better than Joan. Yeah, that's for sure.
So that's another rumor that Honda is about to buy him out of his KTM contract. Pedro. Hey man.
But what happened to the Ducati conversation? Because was there not also thought that it's likely he could end up on the Ducati?
The difference is that Ducati ain't paying for no $5 million by anyone on a contract. Because I think they said Ducati has the cheapest contracts on the grid.
Really? Damn. So much they pay, Mark.
They said Ducati doesn't pay big contracts, they pay big bonuses.
You know why they do that? Because they have the best bike. Right. So it's a case of, well, dude, we have the best bike, and if you want to ride for it, you're just gonna have to take a pay cut. It's as
And when you're
simple
looking
as
at
that.
someone like Marquez, right? That's easy because he's already an 8-time world champion. He's more worried about, hey, I need to get at least 2 more chips and then I can ride off in the sunset. It ain't even about the money. The younger guys who ain't won nothing, they're probably more motivated by the money and all this stuff, right? Which is crazy, right? They're the ones that probably should be taking any bike they can to win a championship, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, you need that money though, bro. You
Yeah, because it's risking
yeah,
your life.
yeah.
know?
You might need it. You might want to win a championship, etc., etc. But
Money,
to
trust me.
still need that,
If you get
still
an
need
injury,
that mullah.
I don't know what MotoGP insurance is like to take care of you for the rest of your life. So yeah, you
I
better
mean,
get that money.
yeah. Plus, they probably have good insurance packages, you know.
Right?
So
Yeah, so
they'll be all right.
that's. I'm in the middle on Pedro. I'm unsure. I know he's a super talent, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, super talent for Moto 3, a super talent for Moto 2. Doesn't necessarily mean he's a super talent for MotoGP. He could turn out to be an okay talent for MotoGP. That's not far fetched.
Yeah, but we've seen glimpses of what he can do. You know, he's
that's the
led
thing.
races and everything, but again, it comes back to what I said original. His biggest problem is he has to stay on the bike. If he doesn't stay on the bike, then he's going to work himself out of the sport because
But the thing,
at some point, and I think even KTM might get to that point. If he keeps crashing off that bike, KTM are going to be like, "Yo, what are we doing here?
so let
What are
me.
we doing?"
You said I lost my train of thought. You just said something about when I said, you said that's the thing. There's a lot of riders that we see flashes. Maverick Vinales flashes. We all know that there's a lot of talented riders out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is Pedro Acosta a consistent guy who we could say is going to be a super talented MotoGP? Let me
I
tell
tell
you
you
something.
what.
Like this is his second year, but I was expecting more in his second year. I know
I
the
tell you
bike
what.
isn't.
Put it this way. I'll tell you what. I'm going to use the Alex Marquez analogy here.
Yeah.
If you put Pedro on a better bike than the KTM, he'd be fine. I think he's somewhat overriding that bike to get the best out of it. And I think
So
if he gets the opportunity to jump on again, something like again the Ducati, one of those Ducatis, one of those GP24s, I think he'd definitely be better than what we're seeing. I think the crashes would be limited to drastically because again it was similar for Alex. Wasn't Alex crashing a lot too on that Honda? So again, sometimes we have to. It's a case of because the bike is terrible, you're gonna. Yeah, go on.
Alex was not lauded as a super talent.
Yeah, cool.
Right?
That's okay. Cool. That's a big
issue.
difference. Yeah, that's a big difference. But at the same time, because the bike is not good, he's pushing the limits of that bike because he wants to get results, and as a result, he's probably overriding that bike, which leads to the issues of him crashing. So again, I think if he gets something that's more stable, more predictable, that's allows him to express himself without needing to go to that extreme, I think he'll be fine. Because again, it's the same thing with Alex. Alex was in a situation where he had a bike that wasn't really good. And it was unpredictable at any point in time. It could throw you off. It happened to Mark. But the talent, we've seen glimpses of Pedro's talent.
This is where I'm a bit torn, right? Like I just said to you, one was lauded as the next coming off, which is Pedro. Alex was just when he was coming in, right? Mark, his brother. We already debunked that. So, which is why, for me, in the past 30 years, that's when Valley came in, right? When Valley came in.
Oh God, Valley came around
almost 30 years. Not
Valley came in
96.
the early. No man, Valley came in.
Not more the GP career.
Oh, Valley started his In the 90s.
96, run about here.
I'd have to check, but definitely in the 90s. He was around.
Because let me see where I'm going with this, because I need to find this first, right? Right. So I need to have Valentino. I just need to pull up my data right here. So
I tell you,
Valentino's
2000.
96, 125cc. So I was correct. 96. Won his first championship
96.
when he started.
Yeah.
So we almost 30 years. 96.
29, yeah. Just said
years,
30.
right?
Yeah.
Which is why, for me personally, there's only, I'm gonna say 3. I was gonna say 2. When you talk about super talents, like top tier, there's only 3 for me.
Cool. Mark.
Yeah.
Rossi.
Yeah.
Lorenzo.
Stoner.
Nah, dude. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
And this is
I'm
why.
Not,
This is.
I'm not,
And hold on. Let me hold on, and let me put. This is what I put. And it's funny I said Stoner because I had to think about it. Right. I could see why you say Lorenzo, and I got an asterisk on Stoner because I'm glad that you said Lorenzo because it actually segued me right. It's the same thing. Whereas like, see, like I'm saying, Pedro was a super talent on Moto 3, Moto 2. He might be an okay talent in MotoGP.
Mm-hmm.
Stoner is backwards to that. He couldn't ride a smaller bike to save his life.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put Stoner as one of
So
the 3 super.
that's why I'm.
No.
Even though Stoner is there for me, I'm still a bit. You're probably right. Maybe Lorenzo. Right? You're probably.
Daddy Pedrosa is right there, dude. Lorenzo is right there, dude. Max Biaggi is right there, dude. Come on. No.
In terms of.
No, we're not putting Stoner in that category, dude. No, we're not doing that. We can't. No.
Look at it. I guess in terms of raw. That's the thing. I have to break it down. I have to go back to the drawing board and break it down because MotoGP for Stoner in terms of Stoner and Marquez is similar in terms of getting like one lap straight there. Right? Yeah, because I had Stoner I had an asterisk over Stoner, right?
In what sense?
What I just said, he couldn't ride small bikes, right?
Okay.
Because you have to think about in the last 30 years, there's only 2 riders to do the trifecta. I posted it on the Twitter feed the other day on the Twitter page. There's only 3 riders in 30 years to do the trifecta.
What's that?
Two riders.
What? 1, 2, 5.
All 3 categories.
Okay, Rossi.
And Marquez.
Yeah.
No one else.
Lorenzo didn't won 125. He won 250.
250.
Yeah. Who else?
Only. That's it. I did the research. Only Rossi and Marquez.
Did Martin won 250, didn't he? Or 125 or the Moto 2?
125. He didn't win Moto 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And Pecco won Moto 2 but didn't win 125.
Yeah. No.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not putting Casey Stoner in that category because I'm looking at his record. Okay, 250. He was in the 250 cat for 2 years. His best position was second. He finished second. Can't remember what year. He did 2002. Hold on. Because he did 2000. Dude, Casey Stoner, right, did 125 in 2001. Went up to 250, 2002. Then went back to 125 for 2 years, 2003 and 2004. Then went back up to 250 before he moved to Honda in 2006.
Which is why I said he couldn't ride this. He was
but to go from 125 to 250 and then back down to 125. There's someone currently on the grid, the lower grid categories who has done that. Who is it? You mentioned his name the last time.
And it's Fabio.
Yeah. So he's gone back to 125, Moto 2. Moto 3. After the no, I'm not putting Casey Stoner in that category of.
Hold on. So you're telling me, because you just mentioned Pedrosa's years. So you're telling me, because you remember you told me that you choose Pecco over Pedrosa.
Mm-hmm.
So would you over Casey Stoner?
Come again?
Would you choose Pecco?
No. When you said riders who are truly, what was the phrase he used? Remind me of the phrase he used.
Like top tier, like
yeah. So when you talk about riders who are top tier coming into MotoGP, again, Stoner wasn't one of them.
Now, I didn't say coming in, like my overall in the past 30 years.
Yeah, but even again,
which said I put the asterisk over Stoner because I looked at his lower category results and I didn't like it.
Again,
I'm like,
yeah, okay.
He's the opposite of Pedro to me.
Stoner just had the 2 good seasons in MotoGP where he won the championship in 2007 and 2011. That's it.
Yeah, but you got to give the dude props, bro.
I'm not disregarding that. What I'm saying, but if you look in between that, what did he really do?
He was on a Ducati all this time. What was he supposed to do apart from 2000? Which is why.
But he was on a Honda because he rode for. He rode for Luca Cecchinello.
Yeah, that's before he got to Ducati.
Mm-hmm. So he was on
Ducati all the way up until 2010.
Yeah, so
2012 when he retired at Marc over in 2013.
So he did Honda. He did Ducati from 2007 to 2010.
Yeah, that's when he went to Honda and then he rode it for 2 years.
Yeah, no, Ducati. He did Honda from 2006 and Ducati 2007 to 10. Then went back to Honda in 2011 and 12.
Yeah, so he did that for 2 years.
So he only did Ducati for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Ducati was a dog, as we all know,
yeah,
right?
But what I'm saying, even before he got on, he was riding as an independent rider on a Honda before he got the before he got the he did Honda 2000 before he moved to the factory Ducati.
Yeah.
Was it 2007?
2007.
So hold on. So he did 1 year on the satellite Honda, and then moved to Ducati and set the following year and won the championship that year.
Yeah.
Then didn't win anything. Then didn't win anything after that up until
championship, but he won races.
Yeah, but I mean, his record is in terms of MotoGP. I mean, 38 wins from 115 starts, 69 podiums, 39 poles, 29 fastest laps. Magnificent record. We can't hide that. But if we're talking about people who he snuck up on people, put it that way. But if you're talking about people who came into the higher category with a name, with a reputation, not Stoner. Pedrosa, Lorenzo, Mark, Marco Melandri, for Christ's sake.
So let me ask you this, but yeah, bro. So where would you rank if you talk about, because Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez is kind of out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at Pedrosa, Stoner, and Lorenzo, where do you rank them? What order would you rank them in?
If I'm looking in terms of, okay, obviously
talent. Let's say talent.
Lorenzo, Stone, and then Danny.
Now let me ask you this: when Stoner retired at the end of 2012, right? If he had stayed, do you think he would have gotten the run that Marc got, or Marc run was just Marc's talent and just Marc being Marc Marquez?
Yeah, I don't think he would have had that run.
The reason why I'm asking is because there's talk out there like, hey, Marc inherited what Stoner left, and I'm like,
no, we can't say that. We can't because he left at the end of 2012, right?
Yeah, Mark came in 2013, won the championship in
So
2013.
so he didn't win the champion. So then, where did Stoner finish in the 2012 championship? Hold on. Lorenzo won it that year.
Yeah.
Finished third. He finished third behind Danny.
Yeah, so I don't buy it because I think he had some crashes that year. I think he was injured as well. Stoner.
I think there was a stretch of races from Czech Republic, Imola, and Aragon that he had no points. I guess he missed those 3 races.
Was that the year when he twisted up that Honda in Indy?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, so
Indy, yeah, because Indy was in,
bad crash.
Yeah, and he missed those 3 races. I think that was the year. 2012 was the year when Danny should have won that championship. But he had, I think what race was it? Was it Misano? Where I think he qualified on pole, and there was something that happened to his bike at the start of the race, which put him back.
Oh, I think it's when the tire warmer stuck in the front wheel.
Yeah. That's what killed this championship because he only lost that championship by 18 points.
Yeah, and not only that, remember Bautista knocked him off as well.
Exactly. That was the year that Danny should have won.
Race. He started because of the tire warmer. He started from the back, trying to come to the field. Bautista wiped him out.
Yeah, that was the year he should have won that. He probably should have because he won the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He won more race than Lorenzo that year.
So it's a hallmark of our podcast, the Grand Prix Project. We always have to go off on a tangent. It's just part of the DNA. All right, then. So your second guy. Hey, man, we got to give it to Maverick. He's doing this thing for KTM.
Bro,
and he's done it. Hold on. A long time. It's been a while since we've seen Maverick do anything back-to-back.
I'm not giving Maverick nothing, bro. Because Maverick is too inconsistent for my liking. Again, what's the saying? One swallow doesn't make a summer or something like that. This is Maverick Vinales. Okay, we got back-to-back races, good races from him. That's where we are now with Maverick?
No. We're not. I'm not saying to put him at the top of the hill and wait. At the end of the day, in the last 2 races, we've had 5 races, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the last 2 races, because in Kota, Hervé Panchol, his team principal, said, hey, he had something in Kota as well, but the whole confusion in his bike chip cutting out twice on the starting grid. So they were expecting Maverick to perform at Kota, barring those issues, right? If it weren't for those issues. So
yeah, but
get word for it. So he found a performance in Kota. He showed it through in Qatar. He got disqualified, and then he was still leading KTM this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it to the guy, right? He seems to. Because no one else on a KTM is doing anything.
But I mean, he had 2 good races out of 7. Is that where we are now?
But the saving grace for KTM ain't doing it. So what are we talking about? The person that's supposed to be the saving grace, which is Pedro, he ain't doing nothing. Brad Binder used to be that guy. They're struggling out here. So you got to give it to Maverick. He's doing his thing. Right? And let's see. But I just got to give him some flowers, because we always give Maverick stick for his inconsistencies. Right? He's on a KTM that everyone says is difficult to ride. Now Maverick is like, actually, this is the best bike I've ridden. So he said he said in his whole career, he finally has a fast bike. That's what he said.
The same guy who wanted to destroy the Yamaha. I'm not even gonna buy that nonsense from Maverick.
So that's it.
I'm not buying that. That to me, that's nonsense. As him saying that is absolute nonsense because he's ridden better Yamaha bikes than that KTM. Yeah,
he didn't say the difference. He didn't say better. He said the fastest. And
fastest in what? A straight line?
he said it's the fastest bike he's ridden, and word on the street also is that the KTM power unit in terms of power and speed is also better than the Ducati.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait to see that one. I need to see that one.
The theory in Ducati as to why Pecco is saying that they're having these front end washouts that they seem to cannot solve, right? He said when he follows the bike, just goes. This is my theory behind it, right? Same thing that we experience in Formula One. If you look at the bikes this year, there's a lot more aerodynamic stuff going on in the rear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, bro. Do you think it could be a situation where it's like now, with all the craziness going on in the back of these bikes, the type of
the wake
that's
coming off,
it is affecting the bikes more now? Because he's saying that there's not a lot between the two motorcycles, right?
Who?
And Pecco.
So is he talking about front end wash? But
yeah, he said the reason that he thinks that's why Mark crashed as well. He said whenever it gets close to bikes, any motorcycle, they start losing the front. So which is why he said I cannot make the overtake. He said he's like I'm having these issues. But at the same time, you'd have to say, well, Mark followed Alex like line astern in Thailand and
yeah, I think again in a situation like that, I think it's a tire thing. I think it's more of a if.
Yeah, but they haven't changed the tire though. It's the same.
Yeah, but if you can follow someone without overheating your tires, you'll be fine.
Right.
Whatever is happening to Pecco, again, that front end washout thing, I'd say it's a problem if it was happening a lot to the Ducatis. I mean, we saw. Hold on a second. Why is my thing saying it's trying to reconnect?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. We've seen his crash. Where did he crash out? Where did Pecco crash?
No, he hasn't crashed out.
Pecco crashed out. No, he hasn't crashed out of a race this year, hasn't he?
No.
That Mark crashing Cota had nothing to do with front end.
No, not that. No, he's talking about Mark had yesterday.
Yeah, but I think if he's saying that, no, I'd understand if there was other crashes like that, because he said that's why you think that's his reason why you think Mark crashed, but I don't know. It's very possible because again, and at the same time, I'm looking at it. Do the bikes only need? I think that downforce probably helps the bike more on the braking than anything else.
No, it helps it in the corner too. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's very possible. As I say, I'm no aerodynamicist, so I don't have no clue about these sort of things. I'm not really sure what that situation is.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, probably it's the wake that's coming off all these fancy stuff that they have now on the rear of these bikes.
Yeah, but they've had them on the bikes for how many years now? So it'd be kind of like,
yeah, but it's been developed, so we know the more you put, it changes the wakes.
Well, not necessarily. I think the only place on the bike where they have free development is on the rear seat. What's on the front, you can only bring. I think you only allowed one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The rear, based on, because you have to remember that here is coming off the rear seat with everything that ran the Tyrannosaurus things off the back of the bike. So that wake is probably disrupting the
but he's
motorcycle.
Yeah, but Pecco is the only one that's running the new rear seat device thing. Mark and Alex is still using the old one from last year. He's the only one that has the newer version.
That's what I'm saying to you. He's not. So everyone has developed theirs though. So I'm saying when you're behind a motorcycle, right? What they had last year is totally different to what they have this year. So as it change, are these developments causing the wake that's coming off these bikes or rear these?
Well,
is it? Could it be an issue?
I don't know, because we could only have this conversation if this is a constant problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because Mark followed Alex like a lot in.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's the case, because again, you'd have to. This would need to be happening on a regular basis to other riders.
And then that's Pecco.
And I think
Mark didn't say that either. Mark was like, I don't know why I crashed the data. I haven't seen it yet. So let's see what he's.
Again, it's probably from the Mark crash, it looked like he just probably ran a bit wide and probably just got on the dirtier side of the track, and it just washed out. Didn't have any grip, and plus he was already on a lean angle, so that's probably why. So
yeah.
But again, I don't think that's the case, because you'd use that excuse if it was happening right throughout the grid, and we're not seeing that.
Well, yeah, we're almost in, and it's just one shout out. Fermin Alliger is showing consistent pace. Even though he crashed again, but yeah, he seems like he's there.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of compared to him and Digi, I think he's more talented. I'll put him once he gets up and running. I think he's gonna have the measure of Digi. I think he's talented rather than Digi. So I'm not surprised that he's leading that charge, right? Frankie Morbidelli doing his thing. He's running about there as well. I think he's fourth in the championship. Is that where he's at?
Yeah, hold on, I'll have to check.
Yeah.
Let me see. Where is he?
Yeah, Frankie's fourth. DJ and Antonio is fifth.
Is he?
Yeah. It's Alex, Marc, Pecco.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, he's only 56 points. Shit. He's only 56 points off the lead.
Who, Frankie?
Fabio's only 56. He's on 84. He's only 56 points off. Fabio's 90 points off the lead.
Yeah, that's crazy, but yeah, but that's it.
But look at that. Zarka is in 7th.
Yeah,
so the top 5 riders are all on Ducati. And let's be honest, the only reason why Fabio is that high up again is probably because what's that? So the only one missing out of this from the Ducati is Fermin, isn't it? He's the only, he's the one letting down the whole Ducati whitewash.
Remind is rookie, so he's just finding his feet. Jack Miller is the lead in Yamaha. Is he?
No, Fabio.
Fabio, no. Jack Miller.
Fabio is 6th. Yeah. Fabio is on 50 points. Jack Miller is on
16. He dropped that ball.
19. Yeah. Jack is only at 19 points.
And 16 at 19 points. Luca Marini is ahead of Joe Amir. Who would have thought?
Luca Marini.
But
I mean, who would have thought? We just argued that Joe Amir has 11 crashes out of 13 races. I mean, who would have thought?
No, I'm looking at like season start, the bike that seems like it's okay. They said it's sweet, but Joe Amir, he's the one that said it. Oh, it's a sweet ending bike, but you keep bending it. That's crazy. But yeah, that's really it. How do you rate the race?
Apart from Mark crashing out, it wasn't. It was kind of more processional, because once Alex got past Fabio, it was pretty much over. It was good in the sense of, as a Fabio guy, like seeing Fabio led something like 9 or 10 laps. Yeah. Seeing Fabio at the front kind of just like brings back good memories. Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm gonna rate it, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
Doesn't make your podium.
Huh? No.
Your podium?
No.
So you still got Qatar, Argentina, and
I think it's Kota
with Pecco win.
Yeah.
Pecco win.
Yeah, I think it's Kota. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see, because let me just look at this quickly. Because Thailand wasn't that great. Actually, probably could put Thailand.
That's a tire pressure race with Mark.
Yeah.
All right. So
cool. So definitely. Do I put Qatar in it? I don't know. But I definitely go Argentina and Argentina Quota and Thailand.
All right, and so Next race is next week. French.
Yeah, that's it.
Probably a
French.
Grand Prix. All right, let's see how that one works out. Like, let's see what happens there. I'm looking for. All right, and so quick one. I have to give a quick shout out to Christian Daniel Jr. If anyone is wondering who Christian Daniel Jr. is, it's a kid I met him in Austin. He races in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. He's American. I think he's from California. Met him and his dad. Wonderful guys, right?
Is he the one that finished on the podium over the weekend?
Yeah, finished third. Right.
Okay.
Met the kid. Wonderful kid, right? Crashed out on race 1 Saturday, and he podium finished third on Sunday. So shout out Christian. Hey man, that's
first African American to podium in one of these classes.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think I said Matt Oxley tweeted about it, and he mentioned something about how this highlights how we need to have more diverse base in the sport. Obviously, all of those people, once they hear diverse, they automatically think people are gonna get put in position when they're not, they don't have the qualifications or the skills. And he's like basically saying, the more you get the sport out there, the more you find riders, because you can't say, there's no way you can say all the best riders come from Spain. That's just not true.
Italy.
We've just not we've just not ventured out into other parts of the world where there are probably people out there who are just as talented. I don't know, probably just as talented, but
that's Christian. Met Christian, wonderful kid. There's another kid, right? He's British and Jamaican. Sullivan Mounsey. I think his mom is Jamaican and his dad is British, but he was born in England. Not sure where he's from, but y'all could check him out. So these are the two kids, right? It's Sullivan Mounsey from the UK and Christian Daniel Jr. Those are the two kids to look out for. Congrats to those two kids playing their trade over in Red Bull Rookies. They're on their way looking to make their way to MotoGP. So, once again, this has been the Grand Prix Project Podcast, right? Please give us a follow on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, right? We're at the Grand Prix Project Pod, right? And if you're on X, follow us on X. We're at the Grand Prix Project Pod also, right? So it would be nice to have you guys following. We're just working diligently to get up there. So we appreciate every single person who listens, wherever you are.
And comment.
Comment. We've touched I'm looking at the metrics. The analytics, we've touched every single continent now, except for the Oceania. So hopefully we could get some listeners there too. So I appreciate everyone that listens. Appreciate you guys. As I said, please follow us on X. Please follow us on Instagram. Please, someone left their comment last week. If you like it, you could tell us how you feel. You could tell us if you think we're biased. You could tell us how you think we could get better. Everything is welcome, right? And we're open to listen to and recommend.
We're open to all form of criticism.
Okay.
There is. It's the only way we're going to get better.
And so once again, this has been the Grand Prix Project Podcast. This is the MotoGP edition, Spanish Grand Prix review. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great week. Thank you.
We out.
Thank you for listening to the Grand Prix Project Podcast.